All right, check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. Looks like we got some confirmations that we sound good and look pretty good as well. So thank you all for joining us. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a top step for performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for a little over a year and a half now as a performance coach. I've been involved in the futures industry, trading for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experience, share some knowledge, and hopefully assist you into becoming a better trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach. Thank you all for joining. Let us know how you did in the chat. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Maybe you stayed flat because today's price action was not the best. We saw the house account, barely take any trades today, especially during fast markets, just because the price action was a little indecisive or range bound, depending on how you look at it. Right? We saw Dolby pop in during fast markets to talk about how to trade range bound markets. Which is exactly what we had for the first 2 hours. Let's go over the news. We did have some news out earlier this 0.4% when the forecast was 0.6%. A couple other numbers. It's been a week of bank earnings as well. We had Fed speakers out. We had a Nat Gas number. Nat Gas took off today. But anything else you have on the news side, Coach?
No, after yesterday's big number, I think market got a little tired, and we found a range to see if we can hold these levels. But news-wise, not actually nothing here.
I'm getting a little bit of news in my ear right now, actually. I think Topstep has some news that we want to announce. So I'm going to bring in, yep, I think that's right. We got him here. If you were here waiting for an announcement, we have uh, the newest coach of one of our Topstep VIP teams. I want to welcome Coach Robert into the show. Coach Robert, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing wonderful. We had a great show today. Market continued to go off. Lovely to be on here with you guys. And Jay, looking forward to this coaching thing. It's something that came up new in the news, and kind of a little off thing because everybody, all the coaches, they're all like you guys, I'm the only Top Step employee, so we got a little special thing happen over here.
Yes,
And I
sir.
just let Coach Jay and Coach Paulo into that news. They did not know about this information. So we are here to break that. This is a pre-approved leak, so to speak. But here we are, because all the news is going to come out here pretty soon. But I am ecstatic. And Jay, do you remember the name?
The name of our newest VIP team. Remember, we're going to have 10 teams total. There are going to be 500 traders chosen into the Top Set VIP Season 2. Coach Robert is going to be the coach of the Market Mavericks. Coach Robert, I want to ask you a little bit of questions about your trading style, your coaching style as well. We'll get into that. But one of the newest coaches, so it's going to be myself. We already know Coach Dakota is coming on as a VIP coach, Coach Paul, Coach Vince, Coach Ray. That's 5 there. And now we have Coach Robert. So that's number 6. I don't know if any of the other coaches have been announced. There will be 4 more to go. The teams will be drafted next week, the week starting the 27th. The 27th. We'll know who those 50 traders are going to be, what teams you're going to be assigned to. So, Coach Robert, Coach Paul and I have been doing, this VIP coaching for the last 6 months or so. Tell the traders a little bit about yourself, your experience, your style of trading, and your style of coaching.
Yeah, and you guys have been doing a fabulous job at it, all of the coaches. And I say it each time I talk about the VIP process and the VIP system. And I'll say it again here. All of the coaches are fabulous, and every coach has one thing in common, even though we may trade different styles, different products, different times. The one thing we all have in common is to do the best we can for the traders that are in the program. That is true across the board. I think every single coach could agree with that. So I am happy to be here for sure. That's the sound is good. So my style, folks, I have to see me. It's on the shorter term style, the short, I hate to say time frame, because I generally don't like to trade with time charts, so to speak, right? Not like a 5 minute, 10 minute, 15.
Right.
So I'm with Coach Jay, though. I'm with you. If I'm on the NASDAQ and I'm trading, trading time, I had to go to 3 minutes, but I'm primarily a range bar trader, which we can go through that in a minute. Since we're on Topstep X, and it currently doesn't have range bars as an option, I'm using tick charts. Very simple reason is that I personally feel that I can recognize the price action, I say better, but maybe easier. Just kind of clears it up for me, you know. And this is what I like the range bars for. Over you know, bar none, so to speak, cream of the crop. There's a range. Yeah. I think you're familiar with them, Coach Paul. Are you familiar with the range bars also?
I'm very familiar with the range bars, although I don't use them. I'm very familiar with them. So tell us how long you've been trading, Coach Robert?
Yeah, great question. So I started my trading in 2017. The began when Bitcoin it went from like $19 to like 19,000 in a year, and that kind of got the trading bug at that point. But the backstory in that, Paul, is that I ran my own IT company for about 17 years, and a few of my clients, kind of a small business, 5 to 50 users, a couple locations, 12 employees, break fix type stuff, and only maybe like an accountant's office and stuff like that. And some of my clients were day traders. And I had a flashback when Bitcoin was going crazy, and I saw all these traders. You know, everyone was making money in Bitcoin at that time. You just buy it and got rid of it in a month, and you made $5,000-$10,000. So I had a splashback to some of my clients from my IT company who were day traders, and I remember going to their office, and they were always getting the biggest monitors and the fastest computers and the latest technology. Always show me pictures of the boat they bought and the vacation they came back from. They were working 2 or 3 hours a day, right? So I'm like, whoo, okay, this is for me.
Easy.
Yeah, at that time, I switched gears after I sold my IT business in 2009. I switched gears and actually went to school and became a therapist, a sports therapist. I worked on Olympic athletes, NFL players, basketball players, golfers, all professionals. Grew that to a few businesses, and then I shut it all down or sold it all off piece by piece in 2017. Started focusing on when Bitcoin went crazy. I didn't trade Bitcoin. I jumped over into the low cap stocks, small cap, like $2 or $3 stocks, and tried to catch a run or momentum at the 1 minute candle, the open, and I got destroyed for the entire 2017. And somebody in the chat room says, dude, I think you got trading. You understand these types of things. I just think you're trading the wrong stuff. And he introduced me into futures. Don't even know the person. It was an anonymous name through a Discord chat. Don't even know who it was. He said, I am a $1,000 day trader. I will show you the ropes. I don't want a dime from you, but you got me for a month. We'll do it. And then I'm walking. And that's exactly what happened. He showed me the ropes. It was literally like 32 days. He goes, okay, see you later. And he just continued his account. That was the beginning of 2018. 2 months later, I was trading full-time futures. 2 months after that, I recovered everything I lost the year before. And that was 2018. So long-winded answer, but I want the chat and I want everybody to know, if they're getting somebody like me as a coach, that's where I come from. And that's my background. I'm very technically savvy. I'm very logical in my approaches. And that's where all the automation comes in, although we won't be doing it, but we'll talk about how we can get around that here in just a few minutes. But that's my backstory, and I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. I just
For
realized...
our audience,
yeah, go ahead, Coach. Keep going.
If you don't know Coach Robert is our local geek tech. He is very, very good. So a lot of technical issues or computer related issues, programming, he's the guy to ask.
He is going to be our guy. I'm going to sign into a different version of Topstep X really quick so we can get into the markets and pull up our quote board. I just realized that the one I'm currently on does not have the quote board set. So just give me a minute with that. I will bring it right back up. and we will get into the markets. Coach
sure.
Robert, I also want you to talk a little bit about some of the automated strategies that you do trade with, that you do use, and how they may have helped traders in some of the markets that we had today. So give me just a second. We will get over to the quote board and we'll get right into it.
Sure. There
All
you
right.
go.
So here we are back up with the charts. There are about 35 different markets that we can trade with Topstep accounts, not just the equity markets. And we like to cover, the top percentage movers on the day, just to kind of prove that there are other markets that we can trade. To the downside today, we had it was selling the farm today. Soybeans down 2.18%, soybean meal down 2.32%, and soybean oil down 2.77% for our biggest percentage movers to the downside. To the upside, we had gold up 1%, copper up 1.05%, and nat gas consistently in this top percentage movers. I think it's only been 2 days so far this year where nat gas is not in that top 3 percentage wise. Nat gas up 4.82% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To talk about our big four, we had the S&Ps up down 0.4%. The NASDAQ down 0.97%. We already talked about gold up 1%. And we have crude oil down 1.16% for our biggest percentage mover out of our top four. So I am going to pull up, I got a NASDAQ chart up here right now. Let's get into the charts a little bit. I'm going to pull up a 30-minute chart. I'm going to delete some of the drawings that we have here. It was an interesting day in the NASDAQ today. If we look at last night's open, we'll go to that right here. We know we had CPI yesterday. The market had a favorable reaction to that CPI print. We had kind of this bull flag, if you want to call it that, building on the 30-minute chart here. Last night's open, we chopped around for a little bit, not too much favorable price action during the Asian session. As we started to approach London, we see it break out. What are you seeing on this 30-minute chart, Coach Paul?
I see a correction from yesterday's rally. I think we're 50% into that candle. Yeah, to
Pretty
the
close.
tick. A little oversold, but not completely unexpected after yesterday's big move.
Right.
It's still above the 200 moving average. I'm looking for a place to buy it tonight or tomorrow, personally. But it's got to start holding there, But this was a low volume break.
It was. Took all day too.
Yeah, it was so one of those days where we didn't get any reactionary follow through buying. We got some buying last night in Europe, but it seems that with that thin, we got some liquidation from yesterday's short term longs, and they couldn't find buyers. And we just made, as we were airing, we made new lows on the day.
Yes, we did. In the green room, we were talking about, wow, the markets are still selling off here. I want to go down to a shorter time frame because while this might not be the most favorable price action for my style of trading, that first 2 hours of the New York session was exactly what a range-bound trader wants to see in the market. So let's go down to a shorter time frame chart. Coach Robert, I want to talk to you a little bit about, you mentioned before we got on here that some traders that may trade a style that this price action perfectly works for. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what you might be able to see here. Are there any strategies that you could use to trade this price action? I'm going to frame out a couple of things. Here's the start of the New York session here. That first 3 minutes, you guys all know that I look at a 3-minute candle. Had a couple traders ask, hey, do you take this trade where we have VWAP leaving the range? This one that we talk about all the time, and you definitely could have taken it. If we look at where price closed outside of the range, VWAP was still in the range on the first test. So it wasn't decisive, right? We've seen some of these decisive moves where first 3 minutes, there's no question about where the market is going. Today wasn't that, right? Today, we sat in this consolidation here for about an hour. Coach Robert, for you, I know you're not using time charts. Is there a way? Is there a strategy? I know some of your trading is automated that you would look at to trade this specific price action.
Yeah, it's a great question. Even though we have the automation, I'll clarify it is automated, Jay, and it's automated assist. I lovingly call it MAT. That's the name I gave it. It means
There we go.
managed algorithmic technical trading. So it's technical trading because it's based off of that, not feelings, based on technicals. It's automated, but it's also managed automated. And what does that mean? It means, hey, I recognize what needs to happen based on the programming. I'm going to enter a trade right here. But that's the algorithm taking a technically based trade. But the M on Matt is, you know what? That is right at the point of control. It's hard to code in because the point of control changes, and we don't like to trade around point of control. So I may look over and say, oh, that just got into that trade, just like it's programmed to do because the setup was there, and then close it. I also may look at it and say, here's my entry, here's my target, and watch the automation enters it, starts pushing it up, and the market starts to slow down a little bit, regardless of what type of chart you're using. It just starts to get really close to that target and being, I don't think this is going to make it. Close the trade. We don't have to let it go all the way, and we also don't have to let it go all the way to the loss, because my loss is when you first put the OCO order, first put the bracket order on, enter the trade. My target, let's say I have 3 trades in a row and they're all a 10-point target for arbitrary. 10 point, okay. 10 point, 10 point. The first trade, my stop might be 10 points. The next one might be 18. The next one might be 21. And I get laughed at sometimes, but I don't have to let it go that far. It means I'm looking for 10 points. Sometimes you enter it, we call it wicking in. Enter by a point or two, comes 8 down, 8, 10, 12, and then goes back up to the target. Well, if I did a 1-to-1, I've stopped out and lost the trade. However, if it does drop down that far, you see volume come in, you see the volume profile, you see a break, you see stacking. On range bars, it's easy to see, and you go, hell, this is going to go to my stop. Just close it. You just close a 1-to-1, even though you originally had a inverse 3-to-1 risk reward. So that's one of the things we're going to go with our group is we're going to use what I would say is I don't like to use and this is it's a personal preference, right? Everybody trades different. Exactly. I don't like to use a static risk reward in a dynamically changing market. That's a personal preference. It just seems to work for me. If someone does, great. That's great. I know Hoag he's a master at it, and it just, hey, it works for him. It's just something, a different style, but
for sure.
I would use a tick chart here, Jay. I would
use
put
a tick
that
chart.
on,
Okay, so I'm going to go to, so what do we want to look at? We want to look at
500
tick chart, 500 tick chart. Awesome. And I like what you said about, dynamic risk. We talk about that a lot. I learned that, working with Coach Paul as well, using the ATR as a measure of your risk, right? Where some days the markets are going to be more volatile than others and require bigger stops. I was actually talking to Dakota about that last night for slow markets. And he said he might start scalping on fast markets just because some of his trades haven't been working out, looking for bigger profit targets. But then the one question we had was, how do you set your risk, right? Because if I'm looking for 5 to 10 points on the NASDAQ, I'm probably not going to go with a 5 to 10 point stop either, because that's pretty tight, right? So where is that sweet spot where you can say, hey, I'm probably going to have a higher win rate in this market environment. The trades that ultimately go against me might wipe out 1 or 2 of those trades if I let it get to that full stop out. But like you just said, and Coach Paul, you say it all the time as well, I don't have to let it get there, right? I want to give it the room to work because the market is going to do these natural fluctuations, but there's a very specific pattern you're looking for, taking the points and then taking it off the table.
It's a great point, Coach. I was just going to bring that up to Coach Robert. Is I hear that dynamic. You get new information after you enter the trade. You can act on that. I use my 2 ATR stops as a parachute, basically, or an ejection seat. I rarely get stopped out on those, but for those of you that are struggling with that, just understand when you're looking for your trade, you framed out your risk, new information comes in. You don't have to wait to get stopped out. So I like to hear that. Let's give an example of what you're looking at, Coach.
All right, so Jay,
Coach
see what you
Robert.
have for your, yeah, no problem. Thanks, Coach Paul. Do you see where your Jay, where your mouses go left? You see 2. Let's call that a double bottom for intents purposes. Okay,
right here.
All right, you see that right there? Yeah. So if you can take the one on the left and draw a horizontal line, like a horizontal ray, if you want. Start it there and go to the right. Perfect. That's just perfect. All right. So Yeah. So you see the one on the left and the one on the right. If I saw that one coming down, you have your orange candles coming down,
Mhm.
and then you have the blue candles going up. That makes a pivot, correct?
Correct.
Now see how you have a rejection off of your red VWAP and it starts
Yep.
coming down? You now have a high and low pivot. Go ahead and put a
Okay.
line right there. Yep, it says, so we want to make sure it's the one to the, perfect, nice. So we have the first drop of the orange turns into the blue, and then we have it going up to the green and it starts coming down. What I'm looking for is a break of that yellow line by a couple of points, and then I'm going to take the next 10. And I'm going to look for a break above the green line for a couple of points, and then take the next 10. It's really that simple. Okay. There's a couple of other small things, like let's pretend that green line was right at point of control. We're not going to take it.
Makes sense.
It's too choppy, right? Couple of things like that. Also, if that setup was within the first 30 minutes of the US Open, we are not taking it. I don't have many rules. There are only a couple, but they are hard, fast, non-negotiable rules. That's for me. I'm going to share it with whomever I get on my VIP team. And then beyond there, I'm just going to go through the concepts. I'm just going to go through the way I like it, what I'm seeing, the reasons behind it. And then from that point, I'm just going to coach how they want to trade. Somebody's going to come in and be like, I hate doing this. I don't like tick charts. I don't like breakouts. Totally fine. I will guide and I will coach. At that point, I'm not a trade caller, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and what I've been doing for a few years. And the reason I like this, Coach Jay and Coach Paul, is because we're always talking about the dynamic markets. This makes it dynamic. This makes it, and there's a little bit of math behind it, because sometimes we're going to take 8 points, sometimes 10, sometimes 15. Okay.
Gotcha.
I tracked a spreadsheet a few years back about all of my trades. And what I found out was any trades that I took based on this math that I'm going to give out, any trades that I took that gave me a target of more than 20 points, I was losing 80% of those trades. So you know what I do now? I don't take trades if my target's over 15 points. It doesn't mean I'm going to win more. It just stopped me from not losing 80% of them over 20 points, right? It's probabilities. It's really simple. And this is what I do for the trading style. There's just non-negotiable. You're just making a line right there. Say, hey, this is going to drop down a couple of points. I'm going to take 10 points below that yellow line. I'm going to take, wait for it to break and come back and then bounce up over that green line. I'm going to take my X amount of points up there. Like it or not, it's really, hey, the setup was there. We're going to take it. I'm not a runner person. I'm not going to put 5 on and then scale up to 1, 2, 3, or scale in and back out. Some traders are super good at that. Dakota is amazing at that. It's just not what I do. I'm going to, again, for my team, whoever's here, I'm going to share exactly what I do. Show you some back reports that are on there, and I'll show it also, Jay. I sent this to you to talk about this, to share with you personally.
Yes.
During Topstep, folks, I'm an employee, so I cannot trade a funded account unless I am on air. I'm the only coach that's going to be an employee. Only employee that's going to be a coach. I cannot trade a funded account on air unless I'm on air, which is why any trades that I'm going to take, just because of liabilities, it has to be in a practice account. I also can't do it when I'm on. If I'm sitting here working on the production thing like Jay is doing right now, I'm not allowed to trade. However, during my breaks, during some time away, I can. So what I do is I simply leave a practice account up and I mark some stuff off. When I go, hey, lunchtime, here's a couple of areas, place a couple of trades, let them go. And Jay, you saw those reports, and I have them saved. I will share those. Yep. And it was from the beginning of the year. We've passed combines, we've gone through funding. It's so. I don't want to say it's easy because it's not, but what I like to do, and this last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to kick it back over, is what is the biggest reason, in my opinion, not in my opinion, what is the biggest reason, I'll ask you guys, as to why traders have a hard time, including me when I first started. I am not exempt of this. What is the biggest reason we fail? Emotional trading. So my approach is the first thing I want to do is remove my biggest problem. And for traders, it's emotional trading, which is why I do the math. I'm like, hey, we're going to set up this process. We're going to let the process go. It takes emotion out of it. One trade doesn't affect the next trade. It's dynamic the way the market moves. And in the end, hopefully you'll go and you'll win something. The trades aren't a lot. One of my guys today did $3,000 on one contract, just over $3,000 on one contract. He was took 15 trades. He was 14-1.
Taking similar trades to this setup. So now
Yep.
I have a couple of questions on here, right? And Coach Robert, thank you for joining. And I think whoever joins your team is going to get a very different perspective on trading if they don't trade this way, right? And like you said, we're
Mavericks.
not trying to get traders to trade the way we do, but I do the same thing, with the lunatics. If they ask what I'm specifically looking at, the way you just explained your trade strategy, I think is ultimately the goal for every trader, right? You want to know what your strategy is enough to give an elevator pitch on it and say, hey, these are my rules. This is what I'm going to take. I just mapped out on this chart here. I can see your pivots. You have a pivot low here, a pivot high. We come back, we don't break this one. So this is not a short trade. We break this one and we can see the 10 points. Ultimately, the total move was about 20 points or so. Is there a
Mhm.
point where you then invalidate these pivots?
No, actually there isn't.
Okay.
So you see that one on the left, the double bottom there that you have?
Yep.
There's a short on the yellow under there.
Right. So yeah, I have that one on
No, to the
here.
left. The next one. Yep, over there on that side. Go for the left, right after the one you have above the green. Yeah, there you
So
go. It looks like
this
it's the right
here,
spot. No, you're on your left-hand side.
right here,
Left a little bit further. The one you have marked out already. It's a
this one
short.
here.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yep,
So
that's
yeah.
the one right there.
So this
That
short,
actually is a loser. That's a loser. You see
is
how
it?
it broke below the yellow line a few candles back?
So I see it breaking here.
Right there.
It's
And
a
then that would most likely be a loser.
if
Oh,
I
because it
have an inverted risk reward, if I have a 20 point
Oh, how you
risk,
doing? Yeah, what was your inversion? 2-to-1?
yeah, I had it at 3-1, but I even moved it down to 2-1 and it still didn't get hit.
Yeah, we start at 2-to-1 and we adjust based on the market volatility. And the
Got
market
you.
volatility is based off of ADX. That's what we're going to use. We can use DI plus, DI minus, and ADX. If the
Okay.
ADX is going up, the market's getting more volatile. We need a little more room. If it's turning down or flatlining, ADX is average directional index. It measures volatility. Let's say the ADX is dropping off. The market is getting less volatile, which means more ranging. Then we can bring our stops in because we're not going to get wicked out so much. But there you go. There's your 2-to-1s. We start with a 2-to-1 on all of them. Go ahead and plot the next one down and then the next one up.
That was my question here.
Yep.
Where we poke above this and then we trade below it, do you take this trade again?
It would be to your left, the orange and blue at the bottom.
Okay, so now this is another pivot here, you're saying, right? So
Exactly.
this
So
is
see that
here.
exactly.
Got you. So now
There's your
that's your short trade.
exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Those are your breaks. Okay.
once that one plays out, we're gonna move that line. We look for another pivot because we created one down here. That's gonna be your pivot low. This is gonna be your pivot high.
Yes,
This is
sir.
our trade here, and then we get one more, and we see another winner with a 2-to-1 risk reward. Just looking for
Mhm.
10 points. And again, everyone, I see people saying, "Oh, they're you're looking at the Nasdaq all wrong. You're looking at manipulation all wrong." We are very clearly talking about a short time frame trading strategy here, right? This is
Right.
not I'm looking to put on a
I
trade and hold it for 4 hours, and
I
that's
think
okay.
Metal Mind. Yeah, Jay, I'm sorry. I just want to address. I think Metal Mind may have just jumped in here. There's the thing. See, I don't like these hard comments of like a static amount. Like your stop loss should never be bigger than your profit. That's a hard. I don't mean it's hard. It's just that's a structured, a static saying. So I think Metal Mind just maybe got in here, but we just keep it out of the way based on volatility. It doesn't
Yep.
mean we have to go, I'm doing an inverse 2-to-1, a 3-to-1. We just want to leave a little bit of room. And if we see the market sentiment change while we're in that trade, we have every single option to just close the trade, get the hell out of it. And you can see that when you're doing these trades and you see in the market action, along with the ADX, along with the volume profile, along with point of control, it's not hard. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a little more simple when you see these things. And if you follow the rules on, it's like, hey, if I'm trading around point of control, the market's trading around there, just get the hell out. Just don't even trade. Hey,
Right.
there's an area, it broke a pivot, point of control, move to that area. Don't take that trade. Reason is because that it starts to flop around, and yeah, you may get wicked out. So, Metal Mind, I appreciate the question. I just don't like to have the real hard lines that like you should never do this or always do that. It just
Yep.
doesn't work that way. It's a dynamic market.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jay. Thanks for the question. Go ahead, Jay.
Coach Robert, do you consider that a scalping strategy?
It is absolutely a scalping strategy. And depending on the way the market goes, the number of trades I take is generally between 15 and 30. I can get away with 8 or so at a time. It might be a little more than 30 sometimes. But again, it depends on the market. If we have some good volatility and we take a couple of higher pivots, like Jay, if you go to the very top pivot on your left-hand side, yep. Yep. And now the bottom one, the next pivot
To the
to the
left.
right of that for the bottom. Down right there. you're going to take that one also.
Yep.
All right.
10-point
You have
trade.
upper pivot, lower pivot. Now that one there, since the pivots are wider apart, and since we have higher volatility, look at the volume on that, the delta on that. That may be, instead of aiming for 10 points, we may aim for 15 on that, but never more than 15, which means our stop is going to be on 15 to 20. If it hits, bounces, and starts going the other way, close it. If it starts getting close and starts hovering around and not falling through like we think, close it, take a little bit of profit. I am absolutely not a person that says, hey, I have a 20-point target. It went to 18 points. I will never let it go back 18 points and to a stop loss of 20. I will never do that. I'm just going to close it and be done. Yep. Good stuff,
leaving
man.
with something.
Good question.
So Coach Robert, this is a higher percentage winning strategy.
It is where, we have it flipped, right? So one thing to be able to talk about, and all this, Paul, but to let the chat know is we can't look at win rate or risk reward independently. They have to be together. So my win rate is going to be, not going to be, it is, and I can show you the stats on it, 75 to 80%. Okay. However, if it's 65 to 70, I'm losing money. So it has to be there. Whereas somebody like Dakota, who's far better than I am, has a very bad risk win rate. It's 32%, but his risk reward is like 17 to 1 or some craziness. That's the difference. Okay. So we can't look at those independently. So yes, this is a very high win rate. And we also need to just be careful where we keep our stops. We're not just going to let it go. And that's some of the rules. So, hey, if it isn't going your way, these are short trades. I mean, if I'm in trade a long time, it's 6 minutes. So if you go and it starts hanging around, bouncing around, not doing anything, and you're looking for 10 points, and it's been hovering between 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, kill it. If it's hovering between -3, -4, -5, -3, -4, kill it. Take the 3-point loss, wait for the next trade. We never say, all these things are off the table. We never say, I left money on the table. No, you didn't. You took 2 off. We just don't do it. It's like, that's where the mindset thing comes in. And this is why I always look at it as that's the math. That's the technical trading side. No, we didn't. We took 2 off. Okay. Yes, we lost a trade. Traders will ask me this. How many trades, like what's your win consecutive? 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins. I'm like, I always have a factor of 1. If I win a trade, I won 1 in a row. If I lose a trade, it's 1 in a row. Because I don't think one trade, or I don't allow me to think one trade has anything to do with the next. They are all individual. The market is different, right? You step in the river. Somebody says you can't step in the same river twice because it changes. I say you can't step in the same river once because as you're stepping in, it's changing. And that's like the market. And that's how I do it. So yeah, that's a good question, Paul. Love it. I love talking about this stuff. I get excited.
So your mindset is concave versus Coach Dakota, which is convex, which he's looking for large moves. You're looking, the concave is to grab something.
Little pieces along the way, Coach Paul, and here's a great analogy I'll do this for, because I like to do when I'm coaching and you're getting a sample of this, I like to talk the stats, but also give some visuals. And I do this. We have an ocean, and that's a flat line, okay? It's level. And we have waves that go to 15, let's use 10 feet high, and then the trough is 10 feet down. That's how your ocean, 10 feet up, 10 feet down. Well, if that's a trading, I'm not going to get in when the wave is at a half a foot up. I'm also not going to wait for it to go to 10 feet. I'm putting in the middle, as I'm going to take the trade between 2 feet and 8 feet. Because sometimes it pops up and you lose. Sometimes you get up there and you go, I'm going to wait till 10 points, and it crashes on you, right? So that's your 10 feet. Same thing. I used to have someone surfing. Hey, I'm not going to wait for that monster wave. I may not want that. Hey, I'll take a little one, but that's the cycle, okay? It's just take between 2 and 8, 2 and 8, 2 and 8, 2 and 8 in that particular example. And this is why they change.
So what I find really interesting about this, and we'll go into another market because I want to see if we can apply, kind of the same logic. I always enjoy looking at, how other people look at the markets. But what you're saying here, Coach, if we zoom out and if I go to a time chart, right, you said if you're in a trade a long time, it's 6 minutes, right? I just changed this to a minute chart and we can see in probably 30 seconds this trade played out, right? 10 points, and that's your target. Well, let's look for the next one. Same thing here, where, it's probably a couple of seconds that we're in this trade. The way I'm looking at this, right, where there's a bunch of different strategies, there's a trader that says, hey, this is actually the low of the range and I should be buying when you're selling, right? And you said, you have a trader that traded a very similar strategy today was able to trade 1 lots on all the trades that they take, make $3 grand. But if we think about the logic that they were trading with, they were shorting at the lows of this range, depending on the time frame that you're looking at, right? So it really does show that, you know, whatever time frame you're trading on, stick with that time frame, regardless of what anyone else is saying. Because if
Right.
Coach Robert is saying, "Hey, yeah, I want to short here," we might see in the YouTube chat, it's like, "What is this guy talking about? He's an idiot. He doesn't know anything." But it also depends on what your profit target is, right? I'm not shorting looking for 100 points, because in that case, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm
Right.
shorting looking for a very specific trade. I'm going to get out and I'm going to find another one. And we can see
Now they
where
also
those.
stack, Jay. They also
Go ahead.
stack. You see where you're
Yes.
like, because this is going to go stay on your chart. You see where you're up above your red VWAP. You see that? Can you just
This
draw
here.
use a horizontal ray to the left hand side though, where you have it marked out the green and red.
Okay. Here.
Click on the top of that peak.
Got you.
Perfect. Can you use a horizontal line? I mean, not a horizontal, a
Vertical.
ray. No, it's called it. Yeah, it's a different drawing tool. You'll see it
horizontal line.
on the left
Okay.
side.
Let's go to the ray.
Right there. This is no horizontal ray.
Horizontal ray? What's the difference?
Watch, when he clicks on it, get rid of the green line. It starts where you click on and keeps going to the right. Okay, now Jay, follow me on this one. See the peak you just put?
Yep.
See the next high down? It's down a little bit to your right. Okay, put a line right there for me, please. Another line. Yep, second one.
Gotcha.
Yep, and then one at the next one as well. You see that?
Yes.
We have 3 longs. We're going to enter the first one. We're going to enter the second one. We're going to exit the first one. We're going to enter the third. We're going to exit the second. So they're going to stack up. 1, 2, 3. Bam, bam, bam. That is how these things work.
Okay, so this is
first entry.
First entry.
Yep.
Here.
And second entry would be for the next one back.
Second entry is right above that on this breakout. Yep. So we're taking another 10-point trade here.
And now third entry is up above. Exactly.
Okay. So now,
in that process, what just happened is you entered a long on the lowest one for one contract. You got long on the second highest one for one contract. You're now 2 long. Right after that, your first long closed. Right after that, you entered your third one, but it's technically your second because you closed one. And then your second one closed and your third one closed. Guess what? That's 3 trades, 10 points apiece.
30 points.
30 points times 20 is $600 on one trade. And how much time did that take, right? That is how you can get away with these shorter things.
That is pretty awesome. I know you have some of this stuff automated. I definitely cannot. Maybe this is a 1-minute chart, so I might be able to click the button fast enough to get through all of these. But that is, clear as day. It's right there. I really do love that strategy, Coach. I know I've talked to you about it a little bit last year when we met. So I've seen it work. Again, different from what we all do, but there's validity here clearly, right? Where we can see exactly what the trade was based on, where the orders go, where the stops should be. I'm seeing a bunch of trades here that didn't get stopped out unless you wanted to take it off for whatever reason, even the ones that kind of hesitated towards the low here.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing that. Coach, do you apply the same logic to any market that you trade? If you switch over to the YM or the Dow, sorry, the YM is the Dow, crude oil or anything like that? Are you applying the same logic, Coach Robert?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Coach Paul. What did you say, sir? If you want to switch the chart, we can take a look at another one. They're just a little bit different. Like, I'm not going to take 10 points on ES. It'll be like 4.
I'm going to switch over to crude oil real quick then.
Okay.
Let's go to actually here. So let's go to higher time frame. Coach Paul, let's go through our analysis of crude oil really quick. Crude oil was one of our biggest percentage movers to the downside today. And if we start with last night's open, we can see exactly where that sell-off started. Mm-hmm. And it just sold all day. It took a little while to get started. I think we should just wait for our London friends. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, well, you took the words out of my mouth. Cheers in London started the ball rolling once again. But, I found it interesting on the U.S. Open, 8 o'clock Central, that half hour, frame it out.
Yep. U.S. Open, you said, right?
Yep.
Got you there.
And anchor.
Yep.
So we already started the ball rolling, and this almost looks like a pivot from Coach Robert.
Right.
But we left that, we had urgency right off the US Open. And it picked up right to the 200 bar moving average, where they bought it almost, yeah, right, and bounce off. That was a nice trade. But even out of a trade, just reading a market on
Yep.
the opening, that frame out, it's a selling candle after that rally, but right back to under where Europe started selling. And that's a high percentage mover, in my opinion. That's urgency.
Yep.
So as we preached, looking, that volume is leading both sides, where the volume came in, and what did the volume do? It sold.
Selling everything.
So it was a great little move.
Awesome. Yeah, really nice trade here. I did take one trade in crude oil today, off of the 77 level, actually. I didn't even realize at the time that it was off of that 200 moving average, but reading volume the way I do, there was an absorption of sellers right around that $77 level. We got a pretty nice bounce. I didn't take the whole thing back up to 78, but I don't need to, right? Take 20, 30, 40, 80% of a move, and I did my job. So looking for a level, shout out to you, coach. This white line down here, but a really nice bounce. Now I do want to go to a shorter time frame, because Coach Robert, the way we were just looking at the Nasdaq, if we remember, the price action was very range bound today, right? Where we see crude oil, which is somewhat of a trend. Is there a tick chart or a range chart that you would suggest using for crude oil?
Crude oil is, I'm just going to glance at it so I get it accurate.
Yep.
Don't leave us, Coach Robert.
I just had to look at it. It was behind my green screen.
He's
So
back.
it's the range chart. Those who use it are 10 ticks, because it blocks for 10, like MYM, the Dow would be 20 ticks, but those are range charts. So what we can do is, what do you have it on right there, Jay?
This is 100 tick.
100 tick, is that the full day? I can't see really the time
Let's
frame
go.
on it.
Hold on. Let me.
If you want to plot out like the start, yeah.
Yeah, let me plot the start of the
out.
day. Where's 9 a.m.? 9 a.m. Eastern time, red line. Okay, so that is, red line is going to be start of the day, and this is on a 100 tick.
Okay,
No,
100 ticks.
Hold on. That moved. Okay, it's right there. I think 100 tick is too short.
That's the start of the day. Can you see the second? You have the start of the day, and then the second low after that.
This one here.
Right there. Yep. Can you do a measurement? Because I'm not sure of the oil. Like, we want to make sure we're getting about $200 a trade. So I'm not sure the tick value.
You need at least 20. You need at least 20 ticks. So from here, that's about 20 ticks right there.
There you go. Okay. Now grab the next pivot down. Yeah. Yep. Did we get 20 out of that?
Yep.
Okay.
20 ticks there as well. And then let's see what we get on some of these highs. These high pivots held really
on that one.
So there's a question actually here, Coach, from Mark Landers. I may have missed it, but are you looking for a candle close in order to take the trade, or is it just a break of the line and I'm in?
Yeah, it's I don't want to rub any feathers, but I don't care about candle closes. It just happens to be when the timer expired, in my opinion. It's all based on price action, meaning if it pushes up and through really fast, and let's say there's a minute left to that close and you miss it by 40 points, what good is that? In my opinion, again, I don't, that's rubbing anybody wrong here. Some traders only use a DOM, big deal. Hey, whatever works for you. But what I do is, if it breaks it, I'm going to look at the bottom. I have my ADX and my DMI, which is called DI plus, DI minus. It is in TopstepX. I use that. And I want to see that ADX turning up, which means there's high volatility. It's on a short time, only a 10 period back. Again, they're not time candles. So that 10 period, if it's a 100 tick chart, it might be 5 seconds. It might be a minute and a half, because it's counting ticks. Or range bars, it's counting the ranges. So what I do is, if it breaks there, I'm going to look, did it blow through it really fast? Or is it just kind of bouncing off of there? Are we hovering point of control? Are we at a high volume node? We're just going to hang around. So those a little bit things come into play. But by and far, I'm going to have a resting order ready to go. Like you see on there, you have 3 or 4 I'm pointing at your screen here. You have 3 or 4 highs to your left of your screen, which have not been hit yet. If we plotted them, they're not hit. It doesn't mean that I'm going to leave them there until 4 days. It just means that, oh, the market's sold off, it's going down. I'm going to pull those off and save some of the ammo, because you can only trade so many contracts. I don't need to leave those here. Market's selling off. I'm going to start looking for the shorts going down. And I can see right where it says 100 ticks on your chart. That's a pivot point. Can you plot that out? Because I think that's a losing trade. I want to show losers as well as winners. We want to make sure. See the high right there? Let's plot that as a high and see if we get our 10 out of it.
Let's see if we get.
We absolutely want to show.
Yep, and yeah, that's the thing, right? Any trade strategy we use, you need to know exactly what it looks like when it doesn't work, and nothing is 100%. So let me find the long position, because that's what we would have taken here.
And there's your break,
get
and it lost,
ticks? Right? Yep, that would have been a loser.
It's a losing trade. So let's make sure we say that, because it's a true losing trade. It broke through, it came back down, and it just, that was, but see what happens? See where your, see where it broke through about where your mouse is, a little bit higher. See where it broke the yellow line, and then it rejected?
Yep.
Okay. We may have taken it there, but I'm going to say we didn't. Let's pretend that we didn't. No, that didn't pull back far enough to be a loss. So we're going to let it go. And then we get excited. Hey, we're back in profit again. How close are we, and how much are we? If I'm over there, I'm like, man, I'm looking for 10 points on this thing. It just broke through this, and now see the consolidation right where it is? See the consolidation right there?
Yep.
And now it started to pull back from the consolidation. Close right there.
I'm out. Okay. Gotcha.
So this is just to define it again. This is pure scalping. There's no, you don't give it, you don't like time. It's all price. So it's price action. Do you use volume ever?
I use volume profile. I don't use volume, but the DI plus and DI minus, that's the directional index. That gives me, it's part of the component is volume, but it's all price action, Coach Paul, but it's the volume on the side. Because when I'm watching volume, this is for me, if I'm watching a volume candle, I can show you countless examples of two volume candles next to each other. You have a huge green one and a small red one, volume, right? Huge green volume, bar candle, like a 5-minute, and then a very tiny red volume. And then you look at the candles, the huge green one only moved 5 points. The tiny red one moved 35 points. So I like to trade. I always say, do we profit or lose based on price movement or based on the amount of volume? And I know it makes a difference based on it, but if the volume is coming in that much, that far, that fast, your DI plus is going to start going in that direction. Your volatility is going to go up, which is going to turn your ADX to the upward. That's a trade you want to take. Does it work out all the time? Hell no. We just proved it right there.
Well, if you said it worked all the time, we'd have to
shut
this down.
Stop the stream.
Oh, hell no.
Hell
no. Yeah, because it's got to work 75, 80% of the time. Because if it doesn't, I'm losing money. If it's working 60% of the time, I have to adjust, because it doesn't make sense. But the thing about this, Paul, and Coach Paul and Coach Jay, is it's just I say non-negotiable, but it's like, well, hey, I'm trading oil. What happened to the price in Saudi? It's like, I do not care. If I'm in a trade for 6 minutes, I don't care what happened 3 days ago. I mean it with all respect. Okay. If I'm on a longer time frame, say, oh man, gold's at an all-time high. So if it breaks it, I'm going to take a few points. If it doesn't, I'm going to take a few points, or a few points loss. Hey, I'm playing that gold breakout. Cool. Did I get it or didn't I get it? And this is where I'll go back for the people who are just joining in, just taking the biggest issue that traders have of why I'm going to say we, because me too, emotion. Why do traders, what's the biggest reason traders fail or don't do as well as they could? Emotion. So if that's my biggest problem, and I'm an emotional guy, my biggest problem, I looked at it and said, well, dang, how can I better myself? It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a strategy. It wasn't anything. I said, I am losing because I am being emotional. How can I do that? It was very simple for me. I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to base it on technicals, base it on math, and that math has to be variable to match the market. And that's what I put together. I do have all this stuff on TradingView. It marks it out automatically. I am dying to get the API in TopstepX, because I will code this in TopstepX and we'll just give it to all of the Topstep traders. You can have it, because it does it automatically. I just take screenshots and I just post them in my channel too there.
Love to hear that.
Well,
yeah, I just posted my Discord channel that you guys can look at. And that is where I showed this from January 3rd. I put my stats in there from the last few months of the year. You can see the trades, you can see the profits, see the losses, see the percentages, all the stats you want to see. Again, those who just go, I cannot trade live unless I'm on air. So yes, these are practice, but it's the same for me. It does not make a difference. It's literally a drop-down list. This is the trade. The lines stay on the chart. Oh, I am on lunch. I can trade. I click on it, flip it, start taking trades. I'm on air. I click it, flip it. Now I'm in live. I have to do that as a Topstep employee. So you can get on me if you want for being in practice, or you can private message me and you can see my real account.
The numbers,
whatever you want to do.
So I want to comment on something here, and then we got a couple questions, and we got about 9 minutes left, so we'll keep going. But
okay.
great conversation. So I don't care. We can go longer. Topstep team, don't hate me for saying that, but good conversation here. We got a comment from Deshaun Bradley that says, and then you lose a scalp, and you add talking about this trading strategy. You lose a scalp, so you add contracts to the trade. I think that's where this trading style, right? Because Coach Robert just said, you know, you might be taking 15 to 20, 30 trades a day, depending on what the price action presents to you. And if you listen to Al Brooks, he says the same thing, right? He's looking at 5-minute charts and he says, hey, I might see 30 to 40 trades a day. Do I take them all? Maybe, maybe not. But that's where, you know, if I'm looking at a 30-minute chart and placing trades and it doesn't go my way, or I'm looking at a 100-tick chart and I place trades and it doesn't go my way, you still have to have some type of emotional maturity as a trader to say, hey, you know what, when things don't go my way, how am I going to respond? It's not the strategy, right? We already know that there's no strategy that's going to work 100% of the time. So at that point, it's, hey, how do we manage our own emotions, regardless of what strategy we're trading? Could you then, you know, just add a ton of contracts because this doesn't go in your favor? You could, but I think actually in this case, because you have such a high win rate, this would be the one strategy where it doesn't make sense to, because I know I'm going to throw another punch sometime soon.
You hit the nail right on the head. If you lose a trade, I'm not going to double, triple up on it, because what if I lose 3 in a row? Now I'm 1 contract down, 2 down, 3 down. And what happens if that third one was a little bit bigger? I'm down 3 trades, 6 contracts, increasingly losing in size. That's not how I do this.
Right.
I just want to share it the way it is. And I just saw that thing from Deshaun where he said, you know, worry about intraday's momentum and stuff. Yeah, you're right. There are less participants, but Deshaun, if it's based on price action and based on the, you know, the movement of the up and down, yeah, we need some volatility, but volatility can come with less participants. It can come with less volume. It can come at the start of the day, the end of the day. So we don't know. So all we're going to do is look at it. My biggest thing, I'm going to look for my pivots. I'm going to give you guys the math. We're going to show you how to do it. I'm going to give you indicators that you can plot it out. Very, very simple. You have to draw them on your own, because the automation does it automatically, but I'm going to basically tell you how to do this. And the automation is going to be you. You're going to be, oh, look, there's a pivot. This is how it goes. I'm going to plot that on the chart. Okay. So you're going to do that. And then we're going to look down at the bottom of our Topstep X. We're going to have our DI plus and minus with ADX on it and say, well, you know what? DI minus, which is the down, has overtaken the green, and the ADX is flying up, and I have a short coming up. You dang well better take that trade. If the green is taking over, which means longs have stepped in and they're taking over, and the ADX is dropping, which means, yeah, the greens, the longs have taken over the shorts, and the volatility is dropping from ADX, and there's a short there, you might want to skip that one. Or let it go in, watch it, because it may turn around on you. And if it doesn't, just get the hell out. I have no problem taking a winning trade at 30 seconds or 5 seconds or 3 minutes, or a losing trade at 3 seconds, 30 seconds, or 3 minutes. It's literally just price action. Exactly. I'm going to show you all how to do it. I'm really looking forward to this, Coach Jay.
Coach Robert, a quick question from Terrell. Do you only trade this during a day session or New York session?
Great question. The answer is no. I don't, and I'm not. The stuff I share it is, yes, it's during the day because I'm in front of it, but I really like a couple hours into the Asian market and a couple hours before the US market. I used to like the Asian market and then a little in London, but I'm already doing 12 hours a day and I have to sleep at some point. So
no, you don't.
So what we do, that's the great thing about it, Coach Paul, is that it's so dynamic, because you're going to look at these and say, well, wait a second. I have a tick chart or a range chart, and there's nothing showing. Guess what? You don't take a trade. You're going to wait for that thing to happen. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. I've had nights where I've had 10 overnight trades, nights we had none. I've had 10 trades and lost 8, and then you make up some during the day. I've had 10 trades and won 8. It's just it's the market. It's a dynamic market. But because we're using the math on it, if the market, that was the ocean wave thing. If those ocean waves are only now 2 feet, we're not going to trade because it's got to be over 2 or 3 feet. If they're 30 feet, I'm not going to take a 30-foot trade. Well, I'm not going to enter at 2 either. I'm going to go from 5 to 8 in that case. And I'm not going to worry about leaving money on the table or any of that stuff. I'm not worried about trends. Literally just the other day, I was talking with people that I work with, and they would say, "How did everybody do?" And I posted my trades. We were in an uptrend all day long. I think I took like 18 trades and 14 were shorts because it does not matter. See, look at every one of those peaks, Jay. I don't see what you're looking at there, but look at every one of those. How many of those can you take 5 points out of on that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
On the short side.
Well, one other thing you talked about emotion. It's hard to get emotional if you're not in it. Usually, what's the longest you're in a trade? Like 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a pretty short time. It's hard to build too much emotion in that time, especially you have control of
100%.
your stop and in your exposure.
Yeah, and if you don't look at the trend on it, meaning I don't, oh my God, I just lost 3 trades in a row. No, I didn't. I lost 1. All right. Now, obviously, you can have limits on there. We're not trading P&L, but you still have to know where you are. You still have to be like, oh man, I'm getting close to my daily loss limit. I better stop. You feeling emotional about it? Like, oh, I'm starting to get excited about like, I can't, I'm almost at my $500 a day. I'm at 480. Stop. Just don't, that's an emotional aspect of it. Okay. Hey, I'm good. I'm close enough. You're targeting this. Your stop is down here. We're not going to move it. I mean, your loss limit is X amount of dollars. You're getting close to it. Just stop. And one thing I will subscribe to here, also share with your group here, Coach Shay and Coach Paul, is that the structure behind it. I've heard this before, and this is a private coaching. I'm gonna say it's like maybe 2.5 years ago. I was at Topstep when we were doing one-on-one coaching, and a trader came in and said, "Listen, I only trade between 11 and 12. I only take 3 trades, and I only target blah blah blah." I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that you want the market to do what you want it to do, that matches your strategy at the time you want to do it within the 3 trades you're taking.
It's exactly
to me,
what
that
I'm
is
saying.
just a really bad approach to do. Exactly. So yeah, if your strategy is there, it's set up, go ahead and take it. We start getting close to our max loss, just stop trading. You can come back another day, no big deal. I'll have the rules around that as well. You start getting close to your profit, we're targeting it. Yeah, go for it. It's going to be really, I'm not going to use easy, but I'll use basic. Okay. Really basic, really simple, and just have a couple of areas that there's really not too many rules behind it. And I say rules lightly. But the first 30 minutes is my biggest one. I swear, if I see one person trading the first 30 minutes, I'm kicking them from the group. That's horrible. 90% of traders are losing accounts in the first 30 minutes. Why the hell do I want to trade in that time frame? Yeah. I'm not saying you'll win. What I'm saying is you increase your chances of not losing by pulling yourself out of the 90% of losing time frame. It's just a statistic. And this is why it's not emotion. I'm emotionally excited, but it's a statistic. If this much happens, hey, people drive down this road and there are 20 accidents a year. They drive down this road, there's only 2. Which road am I going to take to be the least amount of accidents, right? Hey, what time do I want to trade that's going to give me the best opportunity and potential to win or to not lose my account? If the majority are losing during this time frame, volatility, fills, slippage, things out of nowhere, what? Don't trade it. We can trade 23 hours a day. Why do we need to trade the worst possible 30 minutes, right? And that's just how I think. No disrespect to anybody who does. I know traders that play the open,
it's really funny
that you kill it. Absolutely.
It's really funny that you say that, Coach Robert, because we talk about opening strategies all the time here, right?
I know.
But even then, it has to be a clearly defined setup, right? And I think what you're saying is for your strategy, for your strategy specifically, and maybe not just yours, other traders as well, because the numbers are, don't favor trading during that time. It has to be clearly defined or there is no trade. And especially with trading this price action style where you're looking for, 10 points in the NASDAQ, I can find that when it isn't the craziest volatility where, if I'm looking for 10 points or if I have a 20-point stop out, during that time, slippage, I might have to take a 30-point or a 40-point stop. So it makes a ton of sense. We have one more question, and we are.
And you're to capitalize. Get your last question, but capitalize on it, Jay. If you were taking a trade at the open, that means we are basing it on market movement pre-open, which doesn't make sense to me.
Say that one more time.
If we are taking a trade right at the open, based on our pivot levels, that means we are basing our trade criteria on something that is entirely different. Like you put VWAP, you're going to put, I don't say do this specifically, but hypothetically, well, I'm going to use an anchored VWAP at the open. Great. The market just opened. I put an anchored VWAP. I don't have enough data to take a trade based on VWAP yet. It's got to go some time, right? That would be an example. I'm not going to take that trade right off the bat based on what happened in the last 3 hours when the market moved entirely different. Different structures, different plays, market's dynamic.
Makes a ton of sense. We got one more. Go ahead, Coach.
Yep.
I have one last question, and this was very entertaining. I
I'll be
miss
quick.
working with you, Robert.
I'll be quick.
I could do this all day too. So, give us some heresy. You don't consider there an opening range?
Some heresy? No, I absolutely do consider, and that the irony being when I switched from when I got into those low cap stocks, I was trading a 1 minute opening range, but it was stocks. So I was looking for stocks that had X amount of volatility. How much open interest was there? How many shares were outstanding? Were there shorts available? All that extra crazy stuff. And I was getting hammered. And then I switched to futures and I tried to do the same thing, playing the opening range. 1 minute opening range on NQ, 5 minute opening range on ES were my targets. And I still got crushed. Why? Because I look at that. Let's take NQ, the 1 minute opening range. Okay, what if it's 5 points? What if it's 50? What do I do? Do I have my stop halfway and I'm risking most of my account based on my stop? And it just didn't work for me. A momentum play, sure. But I have to say, what depends on what? Hey, if we got a big giant opening range, did we just cover the high and low for the previous day and now we're going to range all day? I don't know that. Nobody knows that, right? So I 100% agree there's an opening range. I know 100% that there are traders out there who love it, who actually do super well at it. I'm just not one of them because I'm basing on the way the market's moving. And in the first 15 minutes, I don't have enough information because at that point, I'll be using information that doesn't apply, in my opinion.
If you want the opening range, guys, you know where to find us. We're right here. We're here every day.
And I love that.
Go ahead.
Because it's like, what is the opening range anymore?
Right.
So it's great perspective. And remember, too, whatever you do, you set that opening range, it has to be consistent.
Correct.
Time is relative, and truly is. But remember, Coach, I like this is because Coach Robert is not looking at time.
Yep, just price.
He's looking at price. So that's awesome. All right, thanks for being with us. I'll hand it off to Coach Jay.
I appreciate it, guys.
I do want to wrap up the conversation. I see a couple of questions. We couldn't get to all of them in the chat. I do want to ask you a couple of questions, Coach Robert, because I know you work on some of the automation stuff. You work on the platform that we're building here with TopstepX as well. So I have a personal question, but we have Boomer Brian. What platform are you currently using to run your automations?
Say that. Well, it just dropped the last piece of it.
What platform are you currently using to run your automated or manage automated strategies?
Quant Tower. So I started with TradingView back in the day, 2018, coding indicators there just by myself. And that's when I went professional. February of 2018 as I started professional. I say professional, meaning that was my job. And I did that for 4.5 years before reaching out to actually Topstep found me on the Topstep Facebook groups. Hey, why don't you join us? So that's how that happened. So so I started with TradingView. It's only charting only. And then someone said, hey, can you automate this? TradingView didn't have it. So I actually went to NinjaTrade, which does have automation. I didn't really like it. And then I was introduced to Quant Tower, and it's been Quant Tower for 2.5 years.
Awesome. And then personal question here. And if I'm asking for classified information, you can just say, hey, end the stream. You work with the team, and I'm sure they're consulting you a little bit on, hey, how do we build some of these automated strategies into TopstepX? We had some, traders in the chat asking that as well. Not necessarily a timeline, but do you know how progress is going on, implementing some of the automated strategies, if at all, into TopstepX?
Yep. So TopstepX, let me think of that real quick.
If you want to just disappear, I'll take the cue.
No, so publicly, there will be forms of automation that you can use through Topstep.
Gotcha.
And it is being worked on to answer your question.
Awesome. That is good enough. And I know when it is announced, Coach Robert's probably going to be the one making that announcement, or at least making the video on how to do it. If you haven't seen all of the videos on how to use TopstepX, the 5 minutes or less were all done by Coach Robert. If you have any questions about the platform, he has answered that question. You just have to find the video, which is on a playlist on the Topstep channel. I have nothing else. Remember that we do have classes in Discord coming up. After this, Coach Ray and Coach Vince do their classes at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central. Of course, we have Dakota with slow markets at 7:30. Deanna's off because tomorrow is Friday, but make sure you join us for the daytime show tomorrow. Trade well, manage your risk. Coaches, you have anything before we leave? I'll throw it to Coach Paul first, and then Coach Robert, you can take us out.
Oh, just enjoyable session, Coach Robert. Always good to talk with you. And good luck with your Mavericks.
Good luck with the
Yeah,
Market
the
Mavericks.
market.
And if you were looking for what that breaking news was, if you didn't hear it in the beginning, the breaking news is that Coach Robert is going to be our newest VIP coach. There's going to be 10 coaches total. I think he's number 7 that has been announced. So look out for 3 more announcements. There will be a VIP chance to get an extra drawing for Top Quiz tomorrow. The teams are going to be drafted on the week starting the 27th. And Coach Robert is going to be coaching the Market Mavericks. Coach Robert, anything before we go?
Just wanted to thank you all for being here. Allow me to come out here, Jay, and break this news. We have a history that people don't know of Jay and I, at least being friends here for well over a year now through Topstep. Yes. And looking on to Coach Paul too. He's one of the guys that provides all the Topstep daily levels every single day. Those are the ones that I actually run through a GPT that I coded and JD helps with. And that's how we do all the publishing. We do all the sorting. So thanks both of you guys there. Thanks for allowing me to bring this out and breaking the news here on At the Buzzer. And we will see you all on TopstepTV.
See you all on TopstepTV. Thank you. Trade well, manage your risk, and we will see you all tomorrow.